Iron sharpens iron.
Hello.
We will be examining the word believe, tracing it back to its ancient roots in order to answer two questions. What does belief look like, and how do we do it? To put it another way, we will be looking for deeper understanding that can help us to know if belief is present or absent in our life and in the lives of others, as well as empowering us to actively respond when it is spoken to us as an instruction. Imagine picking up an instruction manual, turning to page 1 and reading, Step 1, Believe. How would you do it? A common modern English definition of this word is to think something is true. I don't disagree with this definition, but I do propose that it is incomplete. The missing element is a three-dimensional model, something we can look at, hold in our hands, and examine in order to determine its function and even show to others. This is where the ancient Hebrew language and culture of the Scriptures comes to the rescue. Our dig begins in Barashayat, or Genesis 15:6, where believe first occurs in its full form. Speaking of Abram, and he believed in Yahweh, and he counted it to him for righteousness. In this verse, the word appears in its child form, Aman, which is derived from the two-letter parent root word man. We first see this parent root used at Barashiat or Genesis 1:11. And God said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. It's interesting to note here that there doesn't appear to be any mention of belief or believing or anything even remotely related to any mental activity. At this point in the Scriptures, there aren't even any people on the earth. But after getting to know the word man, this verse about grass and fruit trees has come to life for us in ways we never expected. The word man is spelled with the pictographs ma, or mem as it is called in modern Hebrew, and nun. The ma is a picture of waves of water and carries the meanings of the concrete words liquid, water, blood, sea, mighty, massive, and the abstract concept of chaos. Water has some unique qualities which help to shed light on the implications of this pictograph. For example, its persistent tendency to flow downhill, its ability to assume the shape of any space which contains it, its life-giving presence as rain, the fact that we are born out of it from our mother's wombs, need to drink it in order to live, and yet cannot live for more than a few moments if we find ourselves immersed in it. Contemplating these attributes leads us to suppose that the defining character of this pictograph may be contained in the adjective fluid, defined as having no fixed shape, yielding easily to external pressure, and able to flow easily. In the paper titled The Written Language of Abraham, Moses, and David by André Rochema, the author characterizes the core notion of ma as abundance, which seemed at first to be out of step with what we were seeing until we considered that abundance can easily be described as a steady and constant flow of resources. The next pictograph, nun, is a picture of a sprouting seed and carries the meanings continue, perpetuation, offspring, and heir. Seeds are portable units of information, a statement which is echoed by the Messiah drawing an equivalency between seeds and words at Mark 4:14. The sower soweth the word. According to Webster's 1828 dictionary, seed is the substance, animal or vegetable, which nature prepares for the reproduction and conservation of a species. The pictographic implication of combining the ma and the nun can be expressed in many ways, utilizing synonyms to express their basic meanings. However, I propose that before examining eloquent, expressive, or cerebral phrases, that we first look at the most simple, basic, and straightforward pictographic implication: water, seed. What action comes to mind when you think about the implication of bringing together water and a seed? As a child, I remember seeing an avocado seed balanced on the rim of a jar filled with water, and observing how it sprouted roots and a stem, grew into a plant, and eventually a tree. When a seed comes into contact with water, the static information within it is activated. It comes to life and begins its work of producing more seeds. Without the water, seeds wither and eventually die. Now that we are grounded with this perspective, we can contemplate how the pictographs can also indicate water continues, blood continues, fluid life, mighty air, perpetual motion, and ultimately, activated information. The combination of the ma and nun form the parent word man, which is defined by the actions to make firm, to make steady, and to stabilize, the abstract concepts of sureness or certainty, and the concrete ideas of a kind, type, category, or group. We may have a tendency as modern thinkers to isolate these definitions, asserting that this one word means different things at different times. The ancient Hebrew mind did not work this way, but rather followed what is characterized as block logic, a process of thinking where all considerations work together to demonstrate a collective truth. Man does not mean either to make firm or certainty or a category. It means all three of these all the time. So we can begin to gain a great deal of insight when we listen to what each of these facets of definition says about the others. When the plants and creatures described in the first chapter of Barashiat reproduced after their kind, they increased in number, producing groups, or what we may refer to as species. Their kinds became established, stabilized, firm, and certain. Sureness or certainty is firm stability generated by the accumulation of similar multiples. In order to demonstrate this concept, think about trying to build a simple stool. If you built it to have only one leg, it would stand, but only for a moment. The addition or accumulation of more legs, similar in strength and length, would make the stool stable, certain, and unchanging in its position. In other words, it would stand. We hear this concept repeated in the scriptures at Debarayam, or Deuteronomy 19:15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity, or for any sin, in any sin that he sinneth. At the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, shall the matter be established. It is this concrete aspect of the parent root man that holds the key to understanding all the words which it forms. Looking up basic English definitions for the common translations of man, kind, type, category, or group, reveals that they share the same meaning, and that is, an assemblage or gathering of related things. This is just what we see in Barashiat or Genesis 1:11, and for a total of 11 times within the first chapter, as all the organisms of life are being created and imbued with the tendency to reproduce and multiply, generating stable categories, kinds, or families which will continue their existence. Believe looks like a pillar joined to a building which stands firm and resists the forces which threaten to tear the building apart. Believe looks like a nurse who provides food and mends wounds to ensure strength, certainty, and the wholeness of the body are maintained. Believe looks like an expert jeweler who utilizes their training and designs to gather and assemble stones and metals into stable and enduring jewelry. Believe looks like cement, which is composed of loose and unstable particles that, when brought together, firm into a stable and solid unit. And ultimately, believe looks like an apple seed, which when watered, sprouts, matures into a tree, and produces more seeds, continuing the life of the tree. Armed with this concrete perspective, we can revisit a well-known scripture, John 3:16, and see how it seems to echo these very concepts. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Notice the image of a seed or son being planted into the ground or world. That whosoever believeth, or in other words, whosoever receives the seed and bears fruit like him, whosoever prioritizes the activation of his information, whosoever stands firm with him, whosoever assembles together firmly with him, whosoever reproduces after his kind, or whosoever works to maintain wholeness with him, should not perish or fall apart, but have everlasting or firm, established, and ongoing life. We hope you find this helpful.
Iron sharpens iron.
Hello,